welcome to another episode of Creative Belief. This podcast is a curated collection of conversations with creatives who believe that creativity can change the world. My name's Alex. I get to be one of the hosts of the show, and I'm here with my buddy and my business partner, Josh. Josh, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good, Alex. You know, it's been a rough couple of days weather-wise, but the sun's out today, so, you know, I'm hopeful for some spring weather.
Yeah, for sure. We're recording this in spring here in Indy. Just had like a line of crazy storms come through. Josh and I were both texting. We had our kids in the bathroom. And then it was an absolute nightmare putting our kids back to bed after that. So, yeah, really love Indiana in the spring. But we are pumped for today's episode. We've got Logan Hendrickson on the show with us. Logan is a product marketer and the founder of Logan PMM, an agency creating high converting product pages for B2B websites. Logan, dude, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you all and hear about, you know, your cool hats and your cool style, and hopefully become cooler by osmosis with you. So,
man, we appreciate that. We were talking before we started recording that like we all got the memo of, you know, monochrome, gray, black hats. Like it's just the standard around here. So Logan, we appreciate you representing our brand.
I legitimately feel cooler when I saw that you guys are dressed somewhat like me. So
it's just like the standard, and it's the like there's just nothing on the bottom because we all work from home, and so like you only have to get dressed on the top half.
Exactly. We're completely naked underneath.
Fantastic. Josh is always that way, even in public. So hopefully this podcast now gets flagged and Josh has someone show up at his door.
Yeah, this is going to be
great.
Problematic.
It's great. It's fine. Well, let's move on from there. Let's get in. Logan, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Where'd you grow up? How did you kind of get exposed to the world of creativity? Give us a little insight into you.
Yeah, strong start. Sorry, I started talking about being naked right off the bat.
It's fine. I actually started it. It's totally fine, and I think people will appreciate it. They need a little laugh in their day.
So I grew up in Wyoming, of all places, and most people I talk to, they're like, "Oh, you're the only person I've ever met from Wyoming," because it's a very large geographical state and the least populated state as well. So I could go down to such a long rabbit hole of like the culture of Wyoming and like creativity kind of there. But we can do that if we want to. But I grew up in a family that I was talking to my wife about this, like not creative at all. And I mean, I don't believe that, we'll probably get into. I think everybody is and can be a creative, but like no traditional like musician, artist, nothing, you know, it's just like, I don't know what, but not that. I wasn't taught anything directly from my parents about creativity. But I somehow got into music, and that was like my entryway into all things creative, which eventually led me to what I do for work now in a strange way. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
That's awesome. Interest in music, was it like you picked up an instrument and started playing, or you just got fascinated with like what music was?
I think I started enjoying music, even listening to it more once I started playing music, which is also interesting. Like I didn't listen to a ton of music. I'm not somebody that was like, my dad was always playing like real classic, like good stuff. You know, I was listening to just whatever was on the radio and nothing cool until one day I started playing the drums. Like I had a friend who had a drum set and I sat down, I was like, I want to learn this. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's just something in me. And then I was like, oh, there's actually like cool music out there. I want to hear what other drummers are doing. And yeah, I mean, so I started playing the drums, and then something kind of unlocked in me, I think. And I was like, I want to write music, but all I know is rhythm. I have no business playing guitar and like trying to like sing. So then I started writing raps, and I was like, that was very interesting.
Heck yeah.
Because I was like, I need to write something. I want to like do something, but I don't know how to make the music. So I'm going to start doing rap. And that eventually turned into more like serious, like poetry. And that eventually turned into like writing and copywriting and marketing. And like, I think that's kind of how the path got to where it is, which is, it's interesting.
Dude, I love that.
Alex, drop a beat. We're going to get a freestyle up in here.
I will not, because everyone would leave the show immediately. But dude, I love that. Also, do agree, like, you need to release an album, right? Like, you got to go back to some of those early raps and release that.
Well, I did under a moniker called Fake Logo in college. I was in a rap band. So it was like a joke. We called ourselves like the biggest laughing stock of rap music or something. But we wrote like silly kind of rap, like it was rap, I guess, but it was like silly songs, trying to be funny. So you can find it if you dig really, really deep in YouTube. Fake Logo.
Alex will link it in the show notes.
I was like, literally, I just pulled up YouTube and was starting to search. So that way I don't forget.
I actually would love to, you touch a little bit on Wyoming, and I am like, I'm the older I get, the more I'm like, man, I'd love to live in a place like Wyoming where there's just not very many people.
Yeah.
Cause I started a work from home job about 5 years ago, full time. Never thought I would like it. And I love it. The more that I do it, I'm like, I love this. I don't love people as much as I thought I did. So I like being by myself, but I would love to
just really quickly, like, we've all known that you don't love people that much.
Yeah.
So just to like,
I know I was in denial.
Yep.
And
100%.
It took me being removed from people to accept and realize that. So
realize how happy you could be.
Yeah, realize how much joy I could have in my life and really flourish. But you touched on the kind of the creative culture in Wyoming. I actually am really interested in hearing a little bit about that. What that was like growing up in a place like that, and feel free to go into as much or as little detail as you'd like around it. But I just find it super interesting. And I think like there's kind of like this boom of these like Western, like the Yellowstone show and like all these things kind of in not necessarily Wyoming per se, but just that general area and feel. So I think I find some of that really fascinating. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's not something I've thought about that much, but it is really interesting. Like the visual sort of creative, sort of artistic landscape or whatever is like, it still really leans into we're Western, like we are Wyoming. We're brown and gold and, the plains, and like that's if there's like a art show, it's like Western style art, which is kind of like cool. There's not very many other places in the world where like, this is the style that we make in Indiana. This is an Indiana art show, unless it's like it's about the city of Indianapolis. I don't know. But so that's interesting. I do think like just creativity in general there, like just because the sheer numbers game, there's like a lot of opportunity. Like if you are a photographer, if you are an artist, if you were in a band, like I could play all the time.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people doing that, and there's not a lot of stuff to do. And so people were like open to kind of going to shows and hearing you do your thing. And so that part was interesting. But I think that you think about Kanye, he like went to Wyoming, like bought a big old ranch and just like made his stuff out there because there was nobody there. So it's like a little bit of a full circle thing. But I think in the age of AI and all the noisier and noisier it gets, I think it's getting a bigger draw too. Like it's kind of like for a while, Wyoming was like, oh man, this is sort of just is what it is. And then it slowly became like, oh, we should not tell anybody about this because people are going to come take it.
Kanye put Wyoming on the map and you're like, no.
Yeah, we didn't want to be on the map. Exactly.
Yeah, we didn't want to be on the map.
Yeah. Right.
We wanted people to know that people aren't here.
From the map. Yeah. Well, and I think too, like you said, I think especially in the world of creativity, the noise is so loud that I think creatives are looking for these like escapes. Right. I follow a couple guys who are brand designers, and they're going on their very first like creative retreat is what they're calling it. They're going out into the woods somewhere in England. Like they're just getting away from all noise, all technology, everything. And they're like, we're just going to spend a handful of days together drawing and like dreaming and creating. And then like, that's something they hope to offer to creatives in the future. And I think that places like a Wyoming, like going out west, creatives are just finding this sense of like, I can go and I can kind of be connected to a greater creative expanse and universe. And then I can come back and be a better creative and get out of some of the noise and get out of some of that. And we've talked to a ton of people on the show that like that slowing down is such a critical part of their creative process. And I think that is amplified when you can facilitate that slowing down in a place like Wyoming. That's an incredibly beautiful state, or anywhere that's you can just go out and kind of be disconnected from the world around you for a little bit.
Totally. And I feel like the creation or like the nature, like if there's like something that's like big and beautiful and especially different from what then that can unlock something new. So I think that's why a lot of people kind of romanticize the West if you're not from the West, because it's like it looks and feels very different. As somebody who came from the West into Midwest and like more East Coastern like culture, whatever, it's like you feel that difference in a stark way, almost opposite.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost more powerful if you're like, I've never been there, and then I go out there and like, whoa, there's like in the city I grew up in, it's like 2 hours of literally nothingness in between where I lived and where other people lived, and it's like you don't get that in other places. It's just like, whoa, there actually is space to like breathe and think, and the stars are literally brighter, and it's like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Josh and I took a road trip together in a 26-foot U-Haul, helping one of my wife's best friends move from Arizona to New Hampshire. And so we like made it a road trip, drove through up from Arizona to Utah, did some national parks. And like we weren't on that as like a creative retreat. It was just two dudes in a U-Haul going hiking and moving a U-Haul full of furniture across the country. But it was that like stark difference of the places we visited, spending the night in a yurt together, a moment we'll never forget, right, Josh?
Yep. It was quite a night.
Anyway, but like there are just those moments of it is so stark and so different, right? Like the difference is so vast that it does unlock something. You drive for hours on end and there's nothing, rarely even cars that you see. And it just unlocks this like new potential, I feel like. And so if you are a creative and you haven't been out west, or if you are out west and you haven't been right to the coast, go and experience something new, because I think that's a super interesting and creative thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. It's cool.
So Logan, let's talk a little bit then, right? You go from being a rapper to being a product marketer, kind of, wide swing. We talked a little bit about that progression. What got you into that space of like product marketing specifically? And what is it about that space that's just super fascinating for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the title of being a rapper is a little extreme, but I'll take it. It's cool.
I mean, dude, we'll give it to you all day long.
I did it, so I guess I am that now.
Right?
But
that's all it takes.
It didn't. I don't know. I haven't made that connection, of like that through line. But I got into business in general, like most people do. Like I graduated college, I needed a job. I was doing a lot more like kind of creative stuff, but I wasn't my music career didn't take off or whatever. I wasn't trying to like do that as my career necessarily. And so I got into sales, something that in my head would have been like the least creative thing. I'm like selling a software, like just because I needed a job and it seemed like I had a friend who did it. But through that experience, I learned like, whoa, this is actually pretty, like you can do any job creatively, and sales even is sort of this mashup between like psychology and like performance. You get on a call and you're like, I got to help tell you what you want to hear in a way that's like what I want to sell and really listen to you and like adapt. And I don't know. So basically, I think you can do creative stuff like in any job you do, which we can get into more. But that's the very short version. Is like I got into sales and then I hopped around a couple different startups. Product marketing was just becoming a thing. Like marketing in general was typically like demand gen or just like creative marketing. Either you make the stuff that you put on the billboard or you make the website that people come to and you get more leads. And product marketing is a little more of a holistic strategic, like let's do research, let's do enablement on the team, let's like do some campaigns around how to message and position. And like that's the stuff that when I saw, oh, this is like a job that people do, I was like, oh, I like love this stuff. The something, my personality too is not necessarily like I wasn't fully myself. I don't think when I was on sales calls, I'm a little more introverted. I'm a little more like quiet. I'm not the stereotypical salesperson, which you don't have to be good at sales. But yeah, there was just like I found somebody who was doing this. And they were willing to teach me, and the thing that was the connection, I was like, oh, this might be like for me is, yeah, in product marketing, what we call positioning and messaging, which is basically like, what's the mind space that we want to kind of take up in our buyer's mind? Like, what do we want to be known for? And then what are the right words, the right stories, and like the way we want to actually tell that. And so it felt a lot closer to if you wrote a song or if you're like thinking about making something, um, even if it is at the end of the day still to sell software products to other people who want to buy software.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think there's two things that you said there. I think that were really great. One, and it's kind of the heart of this podcast really is just that everyone's creative. And like, I think that, we've talked about it a lot, but obviously there's these like traditional sense of creative roles that I think everybody's minds go directly to when you hear that word in the workplace. But at the same time, like you were saying, like even as an introvert, quiet person in a sales job where some people could say, hey, like you're just going to get swallowed up or you're not going to make it, you're not going to cut it. It makes you think creatively, right? Like, no, I can do this. Like I am, gifted enough to maybe figure out ways around this or to even just use my introvertedness and my quietness to make sales. Like, I think that that's a huge, like just opportunity and like a way to look at it all, right? Like a perspective that changes and shifts. And the other thing, which kind of leads me to it as well, is you had talked about like how music kind of unlocked in you when you started playing, and it was like that same thing with product marketing, right? Like it was, you were talking about how you were like, oh, I really like this. Like I almost didn't know it existed, or in this sense, like that I liked it so much. And I think that as creative people and just people in general, like it takes us to these moments where we get sometimes just do things we don't know what they are, right? Or we don't like know where it might lead, and we're kind of out of our comfort zone even, but who knows what potentially that can lead to, right? Or unlock inside of us this new passion, this new thing that we enjoy doing. And look, and now it's like led to you leading, your own business in this world, which is really neat. And it's like there's just so many things that we wouldn't even know that we enjoy so much because we've just said no, right? Because they haven't fit into our bubble or our comfort levels, and so we've just walked away. And I think there's always these opportunities that can lead to bigger and better things that we don't even know exist.
Yeah, man, that's like actually like so beautiful to think about. If it goes both directions, if I'm like I'm a creative person, I'm not gonna do a sales job like that is outside of my bubble, or vice versa. You're like, these people kind of grow up, or they're taught, or they're told like you're not creative. So there's no way I'm going to sit down and draw something or try something new. Um, I love that. Like it really does go both ways. Um, because yeah, everybody is creative, and you can do every job creatively. And creativity in a lot of ways is like a mindset, and not just like the output of what you do. I remember doing uh sitting in on a workshop early in my career that was like design thinking, and I was like, it made no sense to me, the title of it. I was like, why would anyone who's not a designer go to this? But even that was like being willing to say, I like how you said it, Josh, like being willing to just kind of try new things, say yes to new stuff. Um, in and of itself is a creative act. It's kind of like willing to take new inputs, willing to try, willing to fail. Um, so yeah, I like how you said that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is the premise of this whole thing that we're trying to do, is helping people unlock and realize, like, I am a creative. I have the ability to create solutions to problems. Whether that's something you're doing at home, that's a really simple, like, how do I fix this thing in my house, to how do I market and sell this product for my company or for my client or whatever it is. Like, those are creative acts and endeavors. And all of us do them every single day. I just don't think we give ourselves the credit or the title of a creative, quote unquote creative, because that's become such this like sought after title, I think, in a lot of ways. And people feel like they don't measure up. And I think that's just a bunch of like junk that people have believed, have been told, that society has created this structure around. And so I love hearing you talk about all of that. I want to talk a little bit about creative advice, or just advice in general, right? Like, all of us have had advice that's been given to us, people who have gone before us. So Logan, for you, what's been some of the best advice you've been given? And what is, maybe as you're diving into starting this brand new thing, what is some advice that you have for people maybe who are looking to start something, or just like creative advice that you would love to share with people?
Yeah, I think one piece of advice that I got was that kind of goes hand in hand with what I would give, is like just create for yourself, like first, which might be simple to some people, but as a marketer at heart, I feel like a lot of times what I care more about is the end result of, did it perform well, and did it do the job it's supposed to do. And so if you can practice creativity in a way that no one will ever see it, like that's hard for me to do. Like, if I did a sort of a passion project for a while, that was like a poetry thing. Um, and I had to just like take it down and keep doing it, because I was like, it's turning into, I want to see if people like it, or if they click it, or if they follow along. And I want to just do this for me. And so that's
Yeah.
like a big piece of advice that I got. And doing it, like saying yes to other things, like I will try to paint, or I will try to like do stuff that I am frankly not good at. But if I reframe it in my mind, that it's like I'm practicing being creative, and I'm doing something that's good for my heart and my mind and like my whole self, the act of it alone is accomplishing something, and it's not how it looks or how it ends up like performing. That I'm not perfect at that by any means, but I don't know, whoever, like when I got that advice and I'm able to sort of take that to heart, I think it changes
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I would fully agree. I think we often, as people who do create solutions to problems, like, we're constantly outputting, and we're constantly giving of that creativity, that mindset. Like, we're kind of pouring out a ton of resources to solve problems for our clients, the companies we work for. And if we're not finding those inputs, especially those creative inputs, then we ultimately turn around much worse products and solutions, because we're not finding ways to to fill ourselves up. And so that for some, like that may be doing some other form of art. And it also may be like the thing that you do for a job, you just do for yourself, right? Like we were talking about some creative pursuits that Josh and I have. Like those are things that we want to do that are in the space of creativity and design, but they're things that we just want to do because we enjoy them. And we would love to pursue them as a fun passion project. And so I think it is finding that thing that like fills you up and that inspires you, right? Whatever it is, and just doing it because you love it and not thinking about it. I really love how you said like creativity is a mindset and not an output, right? If it's a mindset first, of I just want to create and express whatever it is, and it's not about the end product all the time, I think in turn you will produce better end products in your day in and day out work, as a person creating solutions to problems.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too, because I think like I can look back on times like growing up where it feels like everything you're doing at a young age, like people are trying to prep you for the real world, right? Like, can you make money doing this? Can you survive doing this? And art was always that thing where it's like, you're always just going to be a struggling artist. Like you can't make money doing that. And I think that like that in me then kind of told me like, okay, well, why would I waste my time on this? Even though I enjoy doing it, like as a kid and as I, get a little older, like I enjoy it, but it's like, it just feels like a waste. And there's an ad I saw recently, and I can't remember if it was like Nike or it's a large company. It's a commercial, and they put it out, and it's like basically at the end of it, it's like, so do it for yourself. And kind of like what you were saying there was like, make the thing for yourself. Cause at the end of the day, like, that's what it's gonna like. People are gonna hate it, people are gonna love it, but just make it for you. And I think as you were saying that, it brought to mind this my daughter just entered this like coloring contest at her school, and she's been like so excited about it, and she spent a lot of time like coloring this picture, and it's like the UCLA Bruins logo because it's for March Madness, and she's been talking about the competition and like that they get to have lunch with the teachers if they win, and like she's so excited about it. And I'm telling her too, like, do you love the coloring? Like, did you love it? And she's like, yeah, I think I really did a good job. I was like, then great. Like, you've already won, right? Like, you've already won the contest, because at the end of the day, like, you may not win the quote unquote contest that you've entered. You may not get the job maybe that you always thought you wanted or hoped for. But if you've created some cool stuff that you love, like, awesome. That's great. And I think trying to shape that into young creatives, especially so, like into my kids and my daughter specifically, because she's very artistic and thinking that way, but also like comes this like emotional side of her where like takes criticism very very personally. It's very hard to receive that for any kid, but I think her, especially she just kind of tilts that way. But trying to help mold that into younger creatives as well is like also part of our responsibility, I think, in helping kind of create that creative mindset that you were even talking about, right? Like it's almost redefining and unlearning a lot of the creative things or what that term creativity meant, and trying to help shape it and remold it for young creatives to understand it in a better light.
Yeah, man, my mind is going like 100 different places because I think you hear in the business world, I feel like people are kind of trying to squash the old adage of like, follow your dreams and you'll never work a day in your life, or like, or do what you love and it'll never feel like work, or like stuff like that. But at the same time, there's this guy who studies like buyer psychology. He has a podcast called Nudge. His name's Phil Agnew. He studies all these genius people. And one that has stuck with me is they did these tests on like websites and ads, and when you changed some of the language to like, I worked so hard and I worked so many hours to do this thing, and switch that to like, I loved making this thing. Like, I really had so much fun when I created this product. like even sales went through the roof, which I find so interesting. It's like people, I don't know, people are even on the business side, like the dollars and cents, like somehow we're drawn to stuff that people love to make, you know? And I think that's why AI stuff, like, I don't know, if we want to get into that whole conversation, but it's like, I think it's going to be a thing that people talk about for a while, but I think it's going to be a blip where we come back to like, we are drawn to the stuff that people's heart is in. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
business and if it's a piece of artwork, if it's music, like we,
Yeah.
we love what people loved making.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we've talked about that some on the show with other guests, and there's this like gap in the world of AI that it can't recreate empathy, right? It can't create that like emotion at the level that a human with a soul can create. It can get close. It can create really great sales copy. It can create really great like replicas of the thing. But I was having a conversation with someone about AI, and they're like, it's never creating an original, right? It's always referencing resource material to create something. And so when you put that up against an original masterpiece, an original piece of art, it just can't captivate that because it's using a database as a reference. And so I think I agree. I think that AI is going to be a tool that when we learn to embrace it as something that can enhance some of our work and can speed up some processes and do some of the things that allow us to get into more of the actual act of creating. I think that's where it's got a lot of power. I don't think it's a thing that's going to steal the world of creativity's jobs and replace the art and the storytelling that comes from human experience, right? Like so much of that is born out of our own experiences and the things that we walk through. And sure, I can tell ChatGPT about all of those experiences in my life, and it can write a really cool story about that, but it's still not my personal take on that. Where I've expressed emotion and pain and joy and sorrow and sadness and the best moments of my life. Like that stuff just doesn't come out. And so I think that's my take on like, as we've talked about where AI sees and kind of misses the mark on some of the storytelling side. And I agree. I think it'll be kind of a blip on the radar, and we'll be like, that was cool. That was helpful. We learned a bunch of things. It made me a little faster at some of the business aspects. But we still have to put the time into creating. So Logan, talk about you've recently launched your own company, right? You left kind of that career in product marketing inside of agencies or inside of in-house teams. And you've launched your own thing. You're now helping businesses sell really incredible products. Talk about that journey and kind of taking that step to jumping out and starting your own thing.
Yeah, it was not something that was ever on my radar. I feel like you hear that a lot. I never had aspirations until a bunch of my friends were doing it, and I'm like, oh, wow, maybe this is like possible. And then eventually it felt like, oh, this feels inevitable. It's like, it seems like a thing that just, it's happening to me in a way, which I'm super thankful for. So like just opportunities and stuff. And one thing I really love about the work I do and why I loved product marketing in the first place is if you talk to any PMM, which is like why my thing is called Logan PMM, like that's kind of the shorthand for a product marketing manager, but also product marketing as a whole. You'll hear that it's very hard to define. It's different at every single tech company you work at, and every day is very different. There's like a million things product marketers can do, should do, and so it looks very different. And that's something I loved and do love about it. And so this is just a way to take it one step farther, is like now I do a lot of different stuff for a lot of different companies, sell to a lot of different personas and like industries. And I just like I have some natural empathetic strengths, I believe. And so it's always been a kind of an easy thing for me to like see things from both sides. It's why I'm either really good or really bad at arguing. I don't know. But I'm like, I totally agree with you and I have an opinion, but I also could 100% be wrong. but it's helpful in this kind of work where I'm like, I know why you're thinking this way in a certain way. So, yeah, it's why I love the space. And how I got into it was I'm again thankful to I had an on ramp where I had a baby. I've got 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. He just turned 6 literally yesterday. A 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old. And so about 10 months ago when I was on paternity leave, I had some friends running businesses and I was like, I've got a little bit of free time. Let me like help you out and just talk. Were talking business, talking marketing. And that was just the entry point for me to like do some stuff on my own. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun thing. It's felt really natural. I know a lot of people who when they start a new pursuit, it feels like a big risk and a big jump. And of course it is risky, but I feel like I had a nice cushion to start, which is super helpful. So I guess that's advice. If anybody is starting their own thing, it's like in a ethical and morally upstanding way, do some stuff on the side as you start for sure.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing that you said in all of that was I had a bunch of friends who were doing it. So like, obviously I was going to do it. And like, that's the exact opposite of what our parents taught us growing up of like, if your friends were all jumping off a bridge, would you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mom, if my friends were all starting a company, then yes, I'm going to start a company as well.
Yeah.
No, but I do agree in that sense that like, there's a shift in, I feel like in our generation, especially, of like people realizing the freedom that they can have in starting their own thing, but also just the value add that they can give in starting their own thing and being able to help people. And I think create more like empathetic work and build better relationships than always being inside of a large organization where it can feel like you're a cog in the wheel. And like, I don't say that. There are incredible organizations and incredible people who work in them. And like our communities and society needs that. It's not for everyone, I don't think, to go start their own thing. But I do think we're in this season and this time where like a lot of companies want to work with a smaller team. They want to work with an individual that they can know and trust when they're putting their product in our hands, their brand in our hands, right? Like there's this deep need, I think, for companies to really like, it's not about having control. It's about trusting that someone cares about their thing just as much as they do. And I feel like that's a huge shift we're kind of seeing right now in the brand, in the marketing space, but just in the creative space as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I think back in the day, it used the motivation would be a lot more like, I want to be my own boss. I want flexibility. I want to work from wherever I want to work. And it's like all that stuff you can kind of have now. Like I had unlimited PTO. I worked from home. It's like I had, I lived as if I was working for my own self before. Yep. So it wasn't like I had to quit just to get out from under the thumb of like the man. It's more than what you're saying. It's kind of like,
yeah,
I think the people who end up doing it, like, kind of are harnessing that creative thing a little bit more where it's like, I want to keep doing the work I'm doing, but like, I want to build something myself. I want to create it. I want to like put something out into the world that's valuable and beautiful. And I think that is a big reason why I started this thing is I was like, I've always had some creative outlet, I'm like doing something, music or poetry or whatever. And I'm like, this is the one that is actually going to help me buy food for my family. So
yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. And I fully agree. Logan, this has been awesome. As we wrap up the conversation, I would love to know where you see, we talked a little bit about that, but where do you see the world of product marketing going in the next 5 years? What do you think's on the horizon in this space?
Not to be like a major downer, but I think 5 years, we're still going to be in the thick of like just oversaturation of AI everything. I don't think we're going to come out of that yet, probably. I think it's going to be like, we can do everything with AI. We don't need a lot of junior level people. We can just like pump out all this content. And probably for the next 5 years, it's going to be like, we're going to really expand that bubble until it's finally like, actually, wait, what are we doing? All this is just garbage. Now we just have more of nothing. and then we'll go back. So in that short term, I do think AI is going to be like important. You should learn how to use it. You should still try to be differentiated, and at the same time, companies are going to get leaner. Probably people are going to use outsourced consulting or agencies a little bit more. It's going to be harder to find those entry level jobs, you know? So yeah, super happy, nice, great stuff. But I do think that's probably in the next 5 years. But I think long term, the future is like human centered. The future is like real life, way more in person conferences that matter more, way more like real relationships that matter more when selling your products. Like, I think that stuff's going to continue to be very important. And so investing in that stuff now is only going to be good.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's probably pretty spot on. We'll come back to you in like 5 years and see if you predicted the future correctly.
Yeah. We'll see.
No, thanks for again. Thanks. This has been a really great conversation. You shared a little bit about what got you into Logan PMM a little bit. So we'd love to wrap up and just let us know what's some things that you're excited about, what's on the horizon, whether for you, whether professionally or personally, for this next year or foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about building this little consulting business, and so the main thing that I focus on with my clients are like product pages. So if you think about the website, the homepage, it gets a lot of love, a lot of attention, but a lot of the people who are actually shopping for what you're doing spend about 3 seconds on the homepage, and then they click over to like this solutions drop down or products or industries or whatever. And a lot of the people I talk to, they don't spend any time on those pages, and they think of it as just like, let's dump all our features or whatever. And so that's been the thing that most people have asked me to do. And that's been the thing that I've started, like, I have a lot of expertise in, and I've spent a lot of time. I think your website is really important, and going to the AI and social media and all that stuff, like the noisier the rest of the world gets in the digital world, the more valuable your website is, because they're just like, what do they do? Let me just type it in, go there and like learn. So that's the thing that I spend all my time thinking about, are these like specific product solution pages. So when somebody lands on your website, they actually know what you do and make it easy to like get in a conversation. So yeah, that's what I am excited about. It's kind of like, it's so narrow and niche, but I like love it, and it's giving me life, but I'm also very open-handed. I'm trying to like, who knows what will happen next, and I'm not, you said I predict the future, but it's like I don't really think that far in advance. So but yeah, that's what I'm up to, and that's what I'm excited about.
That's awesome, dude. And we will be sure to link to all the ways that you can get in touch with Logan. If you're interested in working with him, have a product that you need help positioning and marketing, we would love to get you connected with him. He's super, super incredible at what he does. So you can find all of that in the show notes. And we want to say thanks to everyone for joining us on this episode of Creative Belief. It has been such a fun conversation. Hopefully you got a laugh out of it, and hopefully you were reminded that you are a creative who was made to create incredible things. So go and create something that makes the world a better place today. We'd love for you to follow the show. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also watch every episode on YouTube. And we would love for you to follow what we're doing at Creator Studio, our brand design studio. You can follow us on Instagram at CRTR Studio there on Instagram. Logan, dude, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks guys. This was awesome.